All right, it's time to take the plunge. Okay. Hello, once again, this is Jay Remy, aka the Lone Observer, here with the 9th episode of Spiritual Empowerment Personal Sovereignty, a podcast series that is here to help you, let me rephrase that, here to help empower you and help you rediscover your personal sovereignty, which is a birthright that has been hidden from me by the powers that shouldn't be. The purpose of this podcast is to inspire you to go out and make a difference in the world and in your life as well. Here we go. I got to plug my websites that no one visits, which is theinconvenienceofawareness.wordpress.com, which also features my contact page, because that's the only place where you can really contact me. Particularly if you're watching this on YouTube, you're saying to yourself, hey, all these ratings and comments are disabled. Long story short, there's a reason for that, but if you need to contact me, go to my webpage. The contact link is in the black. In the black, you'll say contact me. Or even on my YouTube page, you can directly go to my contact through the YouTube page. And speaking of my YouTube page, which is called The Lone Observer, all these things are in the link. All these things are in the link. If you're watching it on YouTube and on Blog Talk, it's in the description for each episode. This podcast series also is going to be about me just probably talking about other stuff related to these issues, or my grievances or personal feelings, whatever. But anyways, in this podcast episode, this is going to be an interesting one, because this is going to be one of my most controversial ones yet. And all I have to say to all the people out there who have a problem with what I'm going to talk about is that if you don't like it, and turn it off, because I'm not here, like I said, to try to placate you, try to make you feel good. I'm here to tell the honest truth about things on this planet. Talking about these subjects is not necessarily always something I feel comfortable with today. For example, today, I don't feel like talking about this today. I'm in a mental state where I don't even want to talk about this, but I got to do this anyway, because this is my moral obligation. I want to get this out of the way so I don't have to worry about it in the future. Because this ties into the fact that a lot of people don't want to take personal responsibility for what they create in this reality. And I'm going to do a podcast episode about that, the fact that people don't want to take personal responsibility for what they create and what they manifest in this reality. They want to blame it on someone else, and they want to point fingers, and they want to, anyone but them. Because we need to get over this nonsense of anyone but them, this meme of anyone but them, or but me, excuse me, or them. What I mean by them, as in the person that's trying to point the finger. But like I said, I got to talk about this because, excuse me, hold on. Sorry about that. Anyways, I have to talk about this. The most dangerous yet dominant attitudes on this planet that is holding people back, holding people in their consciousness back, and keeping them in a low state of consciousness, is also perpetuating divide amongst people on this planet, thus us being conquered. Playing on these dynamics that are based on these dangerous ideologies and these belief systems and systems of thought. And you want to know what those are? Well, let me tell you what they are and what I'm going to talk about. These things: moral relativism, solipsism, nihilism, religious dogmatic thinking, and material or philosophical material thinking, or the idea of the 5 cents, or we like to call the 5 cents only illusion. Thinking that everything is try to place your mindset around this 5 cents reality, this whole 5 cents illusion, thus creating a primitive Darwinistic mindset, or even a social Darwinistic mindset. These are the things I want to get into, and I want to explain about how dangerous it is, and in fact why it's dangerous. Because of the fact what it is actually holding people back, and it's keeping us in a state of suffering. Now, I'm going to go into each one by one, so be prepared for this, because this episode's going to be a wild ride, in my personal opinion. And I got to do this, as much as I don't want to, but I have to, because no one else is talking about this in detail. No one is going out there and actually, there's very few people out there going out there and exposing the way people think. Because I'm sorry, There is certain ways people think that are dangerous, and it needs to be exposed. You can't stop someone from thinking the way they want to think. You got to respect their free will. I get it. Their God-given free will. I get it. But at the end of the day, you have to call them out on people's BS. Because if we don't do that, we're not going to get anywhere. People need to not be afraid to call people on their BS. This is not about being judgmental. It's about being honest. I mean, if someone's belief and attitude is actually causing everyone else to suffer, then it's going to be a problem. It's not. I mean, it's also causing them to suffer deep down. Though maybe I can't say for sure because some people enjoy it since they're so selfish. They're so selfish. People are so selfish. They enjoy their own negative belief systems that they think is positive. And what's even scary is that some of these things I'm going to talk about is many of these things that many so-called spiritual individuals buy into. You know, it just bothers me when I hear certain so-called spiritual individuals out there say that, for example, that there's no objective right and wrong, or that right and wrong is actually subjective. That's something I expect to hear from someone who is spiritually asleep, or an atheist, or someone who actually is, or some other philosophical materialist, or even a nihilist. I expect to hear that from a nihilist as well. But no, because of the fact that this is this is the reason why I have to get into this, why I have to explain it. And I'm going to get to the point right now because everyone's wondering, I bet everyone's listening, well, can you get to the freaking point already? Okay, just hold your horses. Now, let me explain. We're going to do this one by one. First and foremost, we're going to talk about moral relativism. This idea that morals are subjective, that are based on personal whims and cultural norms. And I personally call that cultural relativism, which is the collective version of moral relativism. Because a lot of people, because throughout history, right and wrong has been dictated by the controllers, by the rulers, the hierarchy. A lot of the things that are right and they teach as right and wrong actually have no basis in nature. I'm not talking about basic stuff as in don't kill someone, don't steal, don't rape. We all know, everybody knows that's wrong. But except for certain moral relativists out there who want to make justifications for why they do those actions. But I'm going to get a little more into that in a minute. But one of the main reasons why we're enslaved and why there's this thing called man's law in place because of the fact that people buy into this religion called moral relativism. This attitude that we can make up right and wrong based on our personal whims and preferences. Don't you understand how dangerous and self-righteous and selfish that is? It's extremely dangerous because of the fact that I can justify anything that's evil in this universe and try to make and put a twist on it and make it seem good. Remember, and no famous tyrant in history thought they were an evil individual. Think about that for a minute there. The fact they thought in the tyrant supporters, to this day, people who support the globalist agenda, they all think that they are moral, rightful individuals. They think they are actually doing something righteous and fighting for what's right in this world. But no, they're not. Because of the fact that they don't understand what is right and wrong based on what is native in nature, based on universal law. Right and wrong is simply an action. It's like this. Right action is any action that doesn't cause any harm to another individual. A wrong, or at least direct harm. A wrong action is an action that pretty much causes harm to another individual. Wrong is actually this is what wrong is. Simple as this. Murder. I'm not talking about killing because killing, there's situations where you may end up having to kill someone in self-defense. That's different because of the fact that you're exercising your natural right to self-defense. And a lot of people are going to argue with me against that because they bought into this nonsense that defending yourself physically is wrong. That's another in which actually goes into this emasculization in this whole in the dark occultists who run this planet, the controllers who run this planet want people to think like that so they can get walked all over them. The boot to the face on the ground. That's what it is all about. And that's why I'm going to do a podcast episode concerning this situation and this whole self-defense thing, but that's going to come later. But anyways, killing, universally wrongdoing is murder, rape, trespassing someone's property or personal space without their permission, or getting into their personal space without permission, and theft. and I forgot to add this: trying to control another individual, trying to mold them and shape them. It doesn't matter if you're doing it for their own good. That collectivist mean that a lot of people buying into. That's wrongdoing. That's simply what wrongdoing is. And I know a lot of people are going to actually try to criticize this, not understanding that the reason why humanity is the way it is now is because of the fact that people are unconscious, and the fact that people are not raised properly. Most parents don't have a single clue how to raise someone through objective right and wrong, based in natural law or more so universal law. They have no clue. So they somehow think that the only way we can solve our problems in the world is by controlling other people and using violence to solve everything. Because that's what it comes down to. The fact that people think that we need to solve everything through violence and through pointing a gun at everybody's head to make it, you better be good. Pointing a gun to someone's head saying, you better be good. That's not how you're going to raise someone in conscience. But a lot of these people don't care because a lot of people have a materialist mindset. Like I said, that they have that materialist mindset. They don't know better. They don't have the patience or they just don't see things in a holistic way, because they lack the patience to. They want a quick fix. Not understanding that in the long term it's going to make things either worse or keep us in the state we are in now. But most people don't care because all they care about is their personal comfort. They're thinking, I just want this guy out of the way. I don't care about the consciousness of humanity. All I care about is myself. This selfish attitude that we need to get over. Because most of the majority of people on this planet are materialists or religionists. And a lot of the religionists think like this too. Especially the religionists who only think that, the afterlife is the only thing that matters. But anyways, more relativism. Let me take a look at, don't you find it ridiculous how literally there's this little thing called a border, right? Where your action on this side of the border is right, but just an inch into the other side of the border, it's automatically wrong. Just because it's a single individual, a party, or a group of people decided that their action is wrong, just because of the fact that it violates their personal preference. Because a lot of more relativists out there don't know the difference between objective right and wrong and personal preferences. And vice. Vice by itself is not necessarily wrong in this. In vice, for example, let's say someone has a vice. They like to smoke cigarettes. I don't like people who do that. Well, I don't like when people do that. Not I don't like people who smoke. More like I don't like people who let me rephrase that. I don't like when people smoke. Not I don't like people who smoke. Let me rephrase that. But like I said, like smoking, drinking alcohol, those things, and all these other vices I can't think of right now. But that by itself is not necessary. It's a preference. It's a vice, but it's not right and wrong in the sense of are you causing harm to another individual? And a lot of people need to understand that those things are vices. And those things are preferences. I don't like those preferences, but it doesn't mean I'm going to stop that individual, because that they have the right to do whatever they want with their body. And a conscious individual in the first place will not be indulging in excessive alcohol consumption or even smoke cigarettes at all. A conscious individual, but some do it anyway because they're addicted to it. And I'm not going to get into that. But what I'm trying to point out is that there's this thing called preference, and it really, quite frankly, pisses me off how there's people out there who actually will murder someone because of the fact they violate their preference or their cultural beliefs. Because I went into how culture is like a cult, or culture is another belief or religion, and it becomes a religion, it becomes a belief system. I went into that in one of my other podcasts, so you got to listen to that for more details about that. It's the fact that there's people in other countries getting murdered over the most ridiculous things because of this whole moral relativism, this attitude I can make up right or wrong based on what I feel, what my preferences are. It's not only selfish, it has no basis in nature. And many are going to still disagree with that. But you know what? To all the people who disagree out there, all I have to say is go suck a lemon. Because of the fact that you don't understand. You are so entranced in this artificial construct. You're entranced in these social norms, all these things that are part of the matrix that are here to keep you trapped. You're so entranced in it. And your little criticisms aren't going to be nothing, because I'm not going to even, if you try to contact me and email me about it, I'm not going to read it. Because I heard all the arguments before. You guys don't get it. Because moral relativism, like I said, is not only dangerous, it's also, I would even go as far as say it's a satanic idea. Because of the fact that the dark occultists, the rulers of this planet, are moral relativists themselves. They want people to believe in moral relativism. Take a look at the society around you. That's why there is no. That's why they allow wrongdoing to go unchecked, because of the fact that a lot of people think that morality is based on what they feel is right and wrong. They don't have the lack of objective sense of morality is the reason why there's so much wrongdoing in society, and why no one why there's very few that will do anything about it, even in the face of fear. That's why I'm sick and tired of people who buy into this attitude that they can make right and wrong up based on what they feel, or based on the group think, the herd think. It's very dangerous, and it has caused so much suffering and tyranny throughout history. You can justify massacres and murders under this idea of subjective right and wrong, and a lot of people don't know it. I could go on and on about moral relativism, but we need to get out of that mindset that right and wrong is subjective. It's not subjective. You're trying to tell me, so when you say that right and wrong is subjective, you can tell me like things such as murder and rape actually are permissible under certain conditions? Are you telling me that? If you're not telling me that, you need to rethink this attitude of subjective right and wrong. Right and wrong is not based on preferences or whims. And that's also a materialist attitude, more so a philosophical materialist attitude, that comes from a place of non-spiritual place. Anyone who is a materialist, a nihilist, and atheist would think that morals are based on preferences, because of the fact they think that the world is actually just a pointless reality, that everything is pointless, that humanity is at top of the food chain, that we're the God, and that we're all gods. That nonsense, in a sense. That's where moral relativism comes from, this materialist thought, this materialist attitude. And a lot of people don't see that. A lot of so-called spiritual individuals don't see that. I mean, moral relativism is for the people who are asleep. It's for the profane, who I'll call the general populace, the profane, the living dead. The dark, even the elites call them the useless eaters, because of the fact they call them these things, for the fact that they're this asleep. I mean, come on, think about that. Now let's move on to this solipsism. On my YouTube page, I've actually went into detail about solipsism. You can go watch that video, solipsism. It's another dangerous mindset, because what solipsism does, solipsism is literally telling you that it's like what happens when you take the idea that you create your own reality way too far. Because now understanding that we live in a shared reality. We're living a hologram where we're sharing this reality together with other unique souls out there. This isn't your dream world. This isn't the astral realm, where you can literally create a solipsistic reality based on you and everything else. And some solipsists will even contend that you and the other person down the street is not real, and that person is a construct of their minds. Because solipsism is a very dangerous ideology, because with solipsism, it also can lead to moral relativism, and it can lead to selfish thinking and narcissism. It amazes me how a lot of solipsists are not like this, because it can very similar how materialism can lead to low consciousness, and can lead to selfishness, lead to greed and other negative immoral behaviors. Solipsism can lead right into moral relativism, and I dare say it can lead to narcissism, because a lot of people don't understand that in the New Age movement they teach solipsism, but they don't tell you it's solipsism. This attitude that everything in your reality is somehow your fault. Something bad happens, it's your fault because you created it. This attitude, that which leads to victim blaming as well, or the fact that you're literally thinking that you're literally the god of this reality. You're not the god of this reality. This reality is not even our reality, because it has been hijacked and manipulated by a dark force. We can take back this reality collectively, and we can co-own the reality together. Yes, but I'll put it this way. Solipsism is true. I would not be having this discussion right now. It's just solipsism is actually what happens when someone lacks common sense. Because if solipsists were right about this reality, then I can literally make all the bad things go away just by not thinking about them or ignoring them. No, it doesn't work that way. I don't understand. It just amazes me how a lot of the people who buy into solipsism are people who essentially lost their minds, are people who who fail to understand that there's objectivity in this reality, in this holographic reality. Like I said, the only place that solipsism, I arguably say solipsism applies, is probably in the dream world or the dream state. And yes, I actually know that your dream state can actually potentially be manipulated, or you can even, and so forth, but still, your dream world's your own world. So you can manipulate it and do whatever you want with it. But it doesn't work like that in this reality. I want you to, if you're, to all the solipsists out there, I challenge you to actually try to do something like try to win the lottery. You'll find that you can't do it. Most of you people can't do it. Yeah, have fun with that. Because, I mean, solipsism is also the reality of what happens if people try to... What was I going to say? I was going to say something. Yeah, what happens if when people take the idea of you take the law of attraction, misunderstand the law of attraction. They completely misunderstand it. Not understanding that you're not the prime creator. You're a co-creator. You are a part of the force of creation, but you're not the prime creator. You have control over your own reality. But you gotta understand that in this domain, in this particular domain, you have a limit. Your control over this reality is limited. And I don't mean to say this as a way to actually ironically disempower people, because the whole point of this podcast is to empower people. And to empower you, we got to get you out of your erroneous thinking that ironically is quietly disempower you, like solipsism. Because if you become a solipsist, you can just say, what's the point of everything? And the biggest problem with the solipsist is this attitude of truth being subjective. That's what it leads down to as well. That the truth is subjective. This attitude of truth being subjective. The truth is the truth. The truth is what is in reality. You're trying to tell me that someone's erroneous, ignorant attitudes are just as valid as mine? That's what some of these people try to preach, telling you that. I mean, because I constantly been hearing this a lot. This whole your truth, my truth thing. My biggest problem with it is it sounds solipsistic. There's no such thing as my truth or your truth. The truth is the truth. If you're telling the truth or you're not. More like what you feel in your heart, what you think in your heart, or more so what you think is in your heart. I don't go around and say my truth or this is my truth. No, I usually will say how I feel or what I feel deep down, because I could very well be wrong about something. You're either right or wrong. It sounds dualistic, but let me tell you something. It's just, everything that is true represents truth in this world is everything that is good. Everything that represents lies and wrong is going to cause you to suffer. It's going to cause chaos, which actually invalidates solipsism alone. Because people who actually try to live in a bubble, who live in cognitive dissonance, I've seen people do this. And I see the suffering that comes along with it. If solipsism was true, then you can ignore your traumas and not have to bring them up to the surface. You can pretend they don't exist because, the solipsists think that I am reality. Instead of thinking that I am a co-creator of reality, the solipsist thinks that I am the reality. And there's people out there who think like this. And a lot of these people who I'm talking about, like solipsists, more relativists now, they're all going to be offended. But you know what? Good. Get offended. That's great, because I'm doing my job. I've come here to actually shake things up and to get you out of your stealthy, disempowering belief systems. Because if you think these things, you're not going to go out there and take action against tyranny and truly raise yourself in spiritual consciousness. Because things such as more relativism, solipsism, all these other things, they are actually will keep you in cosmic childhood. Because this is childish thinking. Yet adults think like this because of the fact that adults are not holistically raised. Many adults stay children because of the result. I don't care if you're offended. I'm not, like I said, I'm not here to try to offend you, but if I offend you anyway, well, I'll have to say is, well, I don't care what people think of me or what I do. I do this because of the fact that I do this because of the fact that this is an obligation. And as long as I'm stuck in this reality and have to deal with this world, I'm going to speak out, and point out all the things that are wrong with it. If people talk about suffering all the time, people want to cry and complain about, oh, why this is happening, whatnot. Well, I'm going to give you the answer. And the answer is based on the fact that everybody is a part of the problem in some way. That's the answer. I don't even like, I want to move on from solipsism, because if you want to know more about that, go to my YouTube page. I got 2 videos about that. I shouldn't even have this discussion about solipsism. Let's move on to nihilism. It's kind of like solipsism, but it's like but instead of actually saying that you are the reality, you're saying, well, screw reality. You know, because the solipsist will tell you that solipsist will tell you that reality revolves around you, where the nihilist can even fall into that mindset too. They're thinking that, okay, everything in the world is pointless. You know, that morality, goodness, all this stuff, it's all pointless. So I'm going to live by how I want to live. It's kind of like solipsism light. The only difference is that you don't think you are the reality. Instead, you're thinking, well, the reality is best, but what I make of it, essentially. Nihilism is actually very dangerous, because the idea that everything is pointless in this world, forget it all, screw it all, that, you know, I'm going to live my way. It's a very dangerous mindset, because it can lead to people having, lead to evil. It can lead to darkness within the soul. Not all nihilists think like this, fortunately, because of the fact they do have a natural innate, they still have their natural innate moral compass intact, which is why some don't go super deep down. But if you're a nihilist, you're thinking, since everything is pointless, life is pointless, they buy into the dark because of the fact they buy into the Darwinist mindset of how reality is just based on, the cycle of life and death, and there's nothing else to it. When nihilism is also pretty much a close relative to atheism, by the way. But like I said, if you're a nihilist, you're thinking, well, why do I have to care about anything? Everything is pointless, so I'm just going to do everything my way. This is born out of the fact that people are this is what happens when the education system in government and so forth and actually tries to mess with their mind. They put them in that left brain mind cage. Nihilism is a good example of what happens when people are put in a left brain mind cage, where they think that reality is just 5 cents only, everything is pointless. It's a very dangerous ideology, because it can lead down to so many bad things. You can become a bad person and think, why should I care? Everything is pointless about what I do or my actions. And a lot of people out there are nihilists to some degree, who are materialists to some degree. Some might not believe that, life is pointless, but they're thinking, what's the point of action? Well, I'm talking about to all the materialists out there who think life is pointless. They're thinking, who cares? That's what I was trying to say. So that's something that we need to be on guard for. And this is because it's more popular than you think. Like I said, not a lot of people are in solipsist in name, very similar to how a lot of people are not solipsist in name, but a lot of people have some kind of erroneous ideas that are based on these things. And last but not least, there is religious dogmatic thinking. This attitude that because a lot of people have been fooled into believing that everything related, the Creator has given us rules and regulations through these holy books, not understanding that a lot of these holy books were written by men. They may have been divinely inspired, but a lot of it is, like I said, it's just man-made drivel that comes from a low pace in consciousness, and that comes from, and this is something else what a lot of religions don't want to hear, the fact that a lot of the holy books have been heavily manipulated or even written by the ones that have been controlling this planet for tens of thousands of years. The whole point of religion is to actually keep you from taking back your own power, and to actually knowing that a lot of the things within yourself are within yourself. A lot of these things, such as a lot of people talk about saying they want to be closer to God and all this and so forth. If you understand that this is all at your fingertips. All these things are all within yourself. You have to know how to tap into it through meditation, contemplation, and being out in nature and connecting with the earth and so forth. The whole point of organized religion is to externalize everything, because if you externalize everything, that's the best way to give your power away to others, to other forces out there. Because you're giving your power away to them, yes, you're empowering them. A lot of people are actually seem to have this fear of all these dark negative entities, but the funny thing about it is because of the fact you're giving away your power to them. You are more powerful than them. That's something you need to understand and realize. The whole point of things such as organized religion or any other hierarchical institution is to fool you into believing that you're not only powerless, but they also have shame and guilt programming attached to these mainstream organized religious belief systems. That's the biggest one, the shame and guilt programming, in the fear programming, telling you that you're not worthy and that you're this and that. All these insults and jabs at you, telling you that and it's just, this is also another thing. The shame and guilt programming is another reason why there's so many atheists and nihilists out there, because of the fact that people bought into this false dialect of religion versus materialism, or more so religion versus atheism. This false dialect. I'm not gonna even. I lump in agnosticism in there as well, because they live the same lifestyle as atheists to begin with. They live the same materialist lifestyles. That's why I lump them in the same category, regardless of what they think. And like I said, the problem with organized religion and the whole point of organized religion is to hide occult or more so hidden knowledge. Because remember, the word occult simply means hidden. It's to hide that knowledge and to twist that knowledge, and to give you that knowledge, but twist it in a way that actually waters down the power of that message, or to actually ironically disempower you. For example, one of the most disempowering things out there, and one of the biggest lies, is the attitude that the creator or God is outside of yourself. Not understanding that it's something that's within and without. It's something that you can tap into yourself. You don't need you don't need a middle man to get to the creator. That's like I said. They use all the, and like I said, in the dogmatic thinkings of religion and the norms, along with the holy books, are the most powerful tools of mind control. Because all you have to do is say that these holy men were told by God to write these messages, and people are going to believe it, instead of doing any critical thinking and finding out who really wrote these books or where they really come from. Because it's a powerful mind control programming, and the religious dogmatic thinking is the toughest of them all. The crap. People have died behind dogmatic thinking. People have murdered another. People have went to war and massacred others because of these dogmatic thinking. Because of this dogmatic thinking. I mean, come on, people. Just get real for a minute. Like I said, religion has some truths about it, and many of these truths are esoteric in nature, because esoteric represents the inner, whereas exoteric, which represents mainstream religion, represents the external, the things outside of you, like the rules, the norms. All these things are external things, and a lot of them have this one, and a lot of them actually have no basis in nature or have no root in true universal law anyway. It actually turns into norms and prefaces of whoever found said religious belief, or they actually create these little prefaces to actually disempower and keep you in a state of repression, emotional, physical, mental, and sexual repression. I mean, it's just the thing about, and which leads to the extremes, leads to various different extremes when people are trying to rebel against these systems. I mean, we all know the fruits of what mainstream religion has done throughout history. We need to actually stop. We need to rethink what we're thinking. Question everything, because everything you've been told growing up has been a lie. And I'm here to expose that. But a lot of people don't want to hear it. A lot of people just want to go, you know? A lot of people want to actually try to give me nonsense. And the reason why I brought all these things up is because of the fact that I want to talk about these things, so people need to be aware of this, so they know why we're not getting anywhere as a species, and why people are so divided and conquered. We need to transcend these things because of the fact that these things are disempowering. We need to actually empower ourselves, and empowering ourselves involves us getting out of this thinking. You are a sovereign individual. You are a powerful being. You have to say no. You have to realize that these things have no hold over your nature. The prime creator is not a hierarchical, tyrannical, male dominator. You understand that? Because that's what a lot of these belief systems are rooted in, especially religious dogmatic religious thinking. The stench of negative of the twist of the negative masculine instead of the positive masculine, which the positive masculine actually governs courage, governs right action, and all these other positive things. Not this repression, not this enslavement, because we're not slaves. We didn't come here to be slaves. We come here to be free beings. We have come to liberate the system. Anyone who's listening, you, everybody else, it's your moral responsibility, and it's probably your job to help liberate this system, to get us all out of this enslavement that's actually been enslaving us for so long. These belief systems are enslaving. They're there to put you in that bubble. They're there to divide you and conquer you and everybody else. We got the power to transcend these things. You got to say no to these things and start realizing that there is an objective right thing. There is objective right and wrong, and it's a lot simpler than you think. If you need to know more about objective right and wrong, look, like I said, go to my website, people. Read the articles there, particularly universal law and the critical importance of it, or go to my YouTube page and listen to some of my videos there too. If you want more information about what the hell I'm talking about. Okay, that's it for today. I hope I talked about this because I just want to have people understand that if we don't start calling people out on their BS, that then how the hell we're going to actually get through this? Do you think people are going to magically just shed this? No, because of the fact that people are going to be going to from the crib to the grave, they're going to actually think this way. Humanity's not going to get anywhere until we start exposing thinking that leads to wrongdoing. And this, I don't care how unpopular this message is. It's not about being popular. It's about doing the right thing in the face of what people will think of you. And that's real courage. And that's how everyone else has to think. Everybody has to have that real courage to say something that a lot of people don't want to hear. That's what makes a real man and that's what makes a real woman. Real men and real women are out to actually people who do these things. You don't care what you feel. It's about what is right. And that's it for today. Next podcast, I might go into the fact that people don't want to take personal responsibility for what for their own beliefs and attitudes and ideas. They want to blame it on someone else. They want to divert it or actually tell you that it's not, what I believe is not representative of what that action. For example, hey, I'm a solipsist, but I don't actually, but I'm not selfish. I actually give to other people. And you see that people who think like that are people who don't understand that your belief systems actually have these things, these slippery slopes. The reason why you don't think like that because deep down innate in your heart you know it's quite frankly bullshit. That's why. Because if you didn't, you'll be doing things that are in contrary to that. So remember, I got my YouTube page. Everything's in the description. I got my YouTube page. I got my WordPress website. And if you need to contact me, go to my website. If you're interested in, whatever. Just if you have any business inquiries, whatever. So that's it. This is the Lone Observer, and I'm out of here. And I'm done because my throat, I need some water.